Guys, it's Ian at SS8000 Cars, and we're at Heathrow, Terminal 5. Very early in the morning. We're off to Geneva, and for those of you who saw my video, well, I suppose it was yesterday, on the number of cars that we're going to see, it's incredibly exciting. But I have to say that my three choices are the GT3 RS Porsche, the Ferrari 488 Pista, and of course the McLaren Senna. Really looking forward to seeing the McLaren Senna. Anyway guys, see you a bit later, and it's going to be a great one. Hey guys, it's Ian and Chris.
Hi.
At the Geneva show, and it's quite a spectacle. So down there we have Ferrari, Maserati, Alpine, all sorts of different names, RUF, RUF, Lexus, and up here we've got Aston Martin, which we'll come to a bit later. The Aston Martin stand, VW, Subaru, and all sorts of others. So we're really looking forward to this. We've literally just arrived. Hey guys, we're actually on the Ferrari stand this year, which has got to be good. And we're in front of absolutely one of the stars of the show by some considerable margin, the Ferrari 488 Pista. Now, as a lot of you may well know, the Pista is actually Italian for track. And in this particular car's case, it could not be closer to the truth. I'm going to start with the engine. We're talking about 710 brake horsepower, 720 metric power. So HP 720, 711 for BHP. And the Pista is using a race engine. It's using the Challenge Ferrari engine, I think from the GT3 series, and it's absolutely the most beautiful car. Now, you know that we loved our Speciale. Now, I think this one will actually be more difficult to get, because apparently they're going to run it until the end of the 488 production line, which a little birdie tells me is not too far into next year. So I imagine instead of there being 2,400 Speciales, which was the rumoured figure, now Ferrari never actually confirmed these things, we're now at a point where maybe 1,000. So they're going to be much more difficult to get. And I've also heard that if you haven't had a letter from Ferrari, then you're probably not going to get one. Aero is everywhere on this car, but I think it looks very much like the Speciale turned up to 11. So huge great diffuser at the back, obviously the braking light, a centre stage like with the Formula 1 racing car, and you can opt carbon on all the cars. Now this is 252,000 base list price, but if Chris sort of pans over to the silver one on his right hand side, you'll see you can actually even get it with carbon wheels. Now we're not talking carbon ceramics here, we're actually talking carbon wheels. These are an £18,000 extra on the car, but they do look rather smart, and I think the unsprung weight is reduced to by 8 kilos per corner, so that's quite a significant drop. However, whether it's worth the £18,000 or not, I'll be very individual for specific owners. It's just stunning, and it really looks race car like. I think Ferrari have really gone to great extent here to make this car look as aggressive as possible. It's going to be an incredible treat to see one of these on the road, but I imagine in the same vein as most Porsche owners race their GT3 RSs and even their GT3s, most Pista owners will track their cars as well. Again, traditional Ferrari front lights, so you can see very Ferrari-esque, obviously as from the 458 Speciale, very similar. Larger intake on the side of the car to cool the radiators and the engine. And this is a 3.9 litre engine, so it's been downsized from the previous Speciale's 4.5 V8, still a V8. This engine compartment's clothed completely in carbon fibre. and it's a really good looking item, I would say. Looks very purposeful, and it's all on display, so that makes for exciting. Interestingly, they have here Ferrari Pista engine, and as you can see, it's a 3.9, so considerably down on the 4.5 V8 of both the 458 and the Speciale. What a good looking engine. Inside, slightly larger racing seats, I'd say. I'll get in it for a second. Slightly larger racing seats to the ones that we have in the Speciale, but again you can see it's stripped out, and a lot of the weight saving over the 488 has come from the interior. So we have carbon fibre, matte carbon fibre on the sills here, matte carbon fibre on the doors, which is actually an option you can have on the 488. It looks like there's a grab on the driver's side for holding yourself on. I thought for a second, a la Porsche, it was a pull to let you out the door, but actually the door pulleys are here. Not quite sure why you'd want a JBL system in this car. I can't imagine it would be, you'd hear it, but it's a lovely driving environment, much the same way as the Speciale was, Chris, do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's sort of clothed in Alcantara. I mean, I feel that there's maybe a little less carbon fibre in this car than there was in the Speciale, because all the doors were carbon fibre. Having said that, actually the carbon fibre does go right down to the bottom of the doors. Anybody familiar with the 488 will recognise the overall dash and obviously the carbon driving environment, which you can see on the steering wheel here. Now, I don't know whether you can notice, but the paddles are absolutely huge, and they're definitely a size or two up from the previous generation. I think Speciale was maybe something like that. And then all the other stalks, as per the Speciale, are on the steering wheel. Yeah, it's very focused driving environment, and I think this one has come with the full racing harness. So you've got, obviously it's into the bulkhead, but basically you've got the same as we had in ours. So to put it on, do that. If I can find, I'm sitting on it, find the other one. Here we go. That's excellent. And then obviously that fits into there, and then your straps adjust by pulling down. The list price of this car is $252,000, but as you can see, this one is opted with a huge amount of carbon fibre. So from the rear diffuser to the front splitters to the side skirts, but even more interestingly, the wheels are clothed in carbon fibre, and these are an £18,000 option, so huge. Now this has a significant increase on both the 488, but even more than that, than the 458 Speciale, which, as you probably remember, was something like 605 HP, maybe a round number of 600, and now this car is 711 brake horsepower or 720 HP. Racing suspension, and the engine itself is taken from the Challenge series as far as I'm aware, so it's a full Ferrari racing engine with a number of modifications probably. Now Chris has actually cottoned straight on to the airflow on the car. It's a huge amount of airflow going down. Before you had two grills which obviously fed air to the radiators. Here we're sweeping air through the bottom, underneath the front diffuser, carbon fibre, all the way through the bumper elements and over the car, presumably for downforce and presumably to keep the car completely planted.
Aerodynamics plays such an important role in these cars these days, because this car is capable of 211 miles per hour. So at that speed, downforce becomes incredibly important, but equally it has to be slippery through the air. Now, one of the styling features that I have noticed that they've gone away from, presumably because the aerodynamics on the Pista are more efficient than the Speciale, we don't have the fin at the side of the car anymore. And that fin was to keep the air coming round. So I'm assuming where it comes out, the bodywork comes out at the end, is channeling the air underneath the car, and then you can see there are also grills in the wheel arches themselves. I'm assuming that comes out that way, and here you can see quite clearly where the air would normally be trapped in the wheel arch, it's coming through the vents at the rear of the car. Limited amount of room in the front, absolutely beautifully carbon fibre, beautifully finished, and that's your engine bay. And again, you can see quite clearly all the options available in this car, because Ferrari's always put a plaque in their car now. Now, we took quite a little bit of footage on the inside of the red car, but I'm going to try and do the same here. Very, very similar to the Speciale. Wow, this is just immense inside here. Absolutely immense. Not dissimilar to the driving environment in the Speciale. Clothed in Alcantara. It is clothed in Alcantara, but also clothed in carbon fibre all the way round the carbon fibre driving zone, which is incorporated on the steering wheel. And as you can see, it's very much like the Speciale was, almost indistinguishable from the Speciale, including the Manettino, which is on the right hand side of the steering wheel. And then the rest of it, of course, is again very much like the Speciale was clothed in Alcantara. And we have the gear change lights, 5 of them that light up at the top of the steering wheel. Then again we have the center console. Center console is angled towards the driver, almost in exactly the same way as it was with the Speciale. And we have launch control, the auto and manual button, and activate reverse, together with hazard warning lights and the electric windows. You can also see that the doors are clothed in carbon fibre, possibly not to the same extent as in the Speciale, and I have personally a slight preference for the gloss carbon as opposed to the matte carbon. I don't know whether that's an option on the car. I think this comes as standard with your 252,000 pounds, but this car, as you can see from the plaque in the front bonnet, actually has a whole host of extras, although quite a lot of those will be carbon on the outside of the car, I imagine. Then we have the racing seats. They look as if they're slightly elongated at the front here over the ones that we had in the Speciale, but fairly close. And you can see in this particular one, we've got carpets on the floor here. Metal at the end, but carpets on the floor rather than plain exposed aluminium, which the red car has. Now, we should maybe talk a little bit about performance, and if I can put this in context, the 675 LT does 0 to 200 kilometers, so that's 124 miles an hour in 7.9. The new 720S McLaren does it in 7.8. This car, 0 to 200, 0 to 124 miles an hour, 7.6. 0 to 62, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, 2.85. I mean, that is seriously fast, and I suppose you might argue about as fast as you could get with the car that's two-wheel drive. Getting that onto the tarmac must be something else. Then, as I think we covered just earlier, the whole of the rear car seems to have about as much carbon fibre on it as you could possibly specify. So we have it across the back here, where the prancing horse is. The bumper elements are all carbon fibre, and the diffuser is all carbon fibre. Yeah, I think it does have flaps under there, Chris. So you've got further I don't know, tuning veins almost behind the ones here. And then I think behind that you have the aerodynamic flaps that allow the rear diffuser to stall when you're really going quickly. I mean, it's clearly an evolution from the 458, as the 488 is. Probably the next one will be the next major design change for Ferrari, but I'm very excited by this car. Always worth having a quick look at the red, Rosso red Ferrari. Okay guys, I'd be really interested to know what your thoughts are on the Ferrari 488 Pista. I think the definitive track car, along with the GT3 RS,